So Brian, what maybe for those that haven't seen your post or anything like that, you can give us a quick little rundown as to the opportunity that you're looking at and where you're at with it now.
So, quick background: it is a 1 acre parcel of raw land in West Edmonton, inside the Henday, so inside the Ring Road. If anyone knows Edmonton, the basis is that there's a 2 acre. The seller owns 2 acres of land, and they have a building on 1 acre of that land, and they have the other acre is just completely raw, unused land that they want to liquidate. They're looking at this opportunity came to me through off-market relationships, basically, through word of mouth. So I explored the opportunity. It looks like it could be a good one. So I had a meeting with them during Christmas and New Year's, which was the initial meeting. So it's kind of just feeling out the whole situation, what they want, and kind of looking at next steps. So the next steps right now are to present them with a proposal, basically an offer. This will be to present a few different options. So I came up with a few different options that could be potential options. I did find out today that they're leaning more towards the straight outright sale option. The second option would be an agreement for sale or a vendor take back type situation, seller financing type situation. The land is free and clear. It's owned outright by this group. The third option would be, which sounded like the most interesting option for them, was to partner with the right developer. So they own the land, they would contribute the land, basically the purchase price would be contributed to the partnership, and the developer, me, would be developing out. So they would get and then they would be in it long term. I'm trying to really simplify this and bring it down, because there is a lot of different scenarios that it can get into, especially with the financing. Different construction financing options, different takeout financing options that stay in for long term, conventional financing, CMHC financing, the MLI Select. So I'm trying to just, for now, baseline it of just a starting point, and then kind of build and grow off that, of different scenarios and what different options look like, and that's kind of where I'm not fully done analyzing it yet. I'm just kind of at the mid stages, I guess, of my analysis, and as far as I want to go with my diligence. So there's a few more things I have to lay out, but right now I do have my construction budget. Of course, it's based on a baseline design. Again, we can go many ways with the design on what gets built, but I got a baseline developed, like full project cost budget. And then I know the after repaired value, or the as complete value. I have that number based on a commercial mortgage broker that did some market research and underwriting of the deal, that I'm broker that I'm working with on another project.
So is there a scenario you're leaning towards out of those three? Like, which out of those three do you want?
Probably the seller financing one.
Okay. So let's say option A, buy it outright. Option B, seller financing. Option C, partner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's where my head's at. Okay. Based on our discussions of what could be three options for the seller. And option 2 of a seller financing and option 3 of them partnering basically gets me the purchase price of the land in raised capital already.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Without coming up for the conversation, they want between 700 and 900,000 for the land. And the last number on the last meeting that was mentioned was 850. So with my baseline analysis, I'm using 850 for the land. And if they decide to do a seller financing or a partnership, that's 850 of capital that is already raised.
So between seller financing and partnership, you prefer financing?
For the sole purpose of bringing in and working with my own chosen partner.
Yeah.
That's it. And not them as a partner. Which they could be great partners, but there is a group of 6 of them. And I have the ability to work with other partners of my choice too, right?
So if you may not necessarily want to work with them and you want to bring in a partner of your choice, probably wouldn't offer the partnership as an option, especially if that's something that maybe they want. I would say, let's just focus on buying it outright or seller financing and just focus on those two options instead of the partnership and just make it nice and clean. I mean, unless, and that's why I'm asking, because unless you were kind of wanting them to be a partner, that way you're not stuck to an interest rate, you're not stuck to as much of a timeline. You have a little bit of leeway on those types of things if they're your partner, versus, if you have seller financing, the longer it takes you, the more money you pay, right?
Yeah. And it's all on me. I'm taking all the risk at that point, but utilizing, their financing. The other thing with the partnership route with them is that they want to be completely, this is not their business, of development and rental, buy and hold real estate. So they want to be completely hands off and passive and silent and have nothing to do with the operations. However, they want an upfront say of what gets built and who is living in these units, and they want some say in that design and who they're working with, what gets developed and all that, right? So,
and is that because they will still own the other acre that's attached to it, and that's why they want the say?
Yes, and they are in their existing building, and they will be essentially neighbors. To this newly developed property, which it still has to be subdivided, by the way. It's still 2 acres, and the proposed subdivision would have to be approved, and that 1 acre piece needs to be subdivided off still.
And as far as the zoning, will you need to make zoning changes, or is the zoning okay?
I'm thinking about down zoning it instead of like up zoning it, because it's currently zoned for what's called US, which is urban services. So a lot of what is under the urban services zoning that's permitted, it's a lot of like healthcare type stuff and, commercial buildings, healthcare. I want to be careful how much I don't necessarily want to get into the healthcare business and providing like assisted living and nurses and like this type of thing. So I'm thinking of down zoning it to RF5, which is just row housing. RF3 is what we use for like the corner lots to get an 8-plex, like a four down 8-plex. That permits a row house, but up to I think 4 or 5 units. Now the RF5 like pretty much allows like row housing of higher density.
Okay, so could you make it a part of your offer that they take care of the subdivision and the zoning? Would you make that a part of your offer?
So I have some thoughts on the conditions I want to put in there, and getting the subdivision approved is definitely one of my conditions.
Okay.
So it would put a lot of, relieve risk off me of doing that. However, I kind of like, I from my perspective, I'd want to tie up the land and control it all and manage that whole rezoning process while I have it still in a conditional period. So is my thinking, right?
Have you done that before?
No. To get a subdivision done within a conditional period before I remove conditions, no, never.
Okay, so my understanding, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't personally done it either, but I am in the process of doing it. I'm at the early stages of investigating almost the exact same thing as you're looking to do here.
Okay, nice.
In Southwest Edmonton. And so some of the direction that I've been given is that we will not even be allowed to, like, we cannot put in for subdivision. We cannot put in for zoning changes until we have title. So they won't talk to us. So that's what I've been told.
The seller?
The city, sorry.
The city, okay, yeah, the city, okay.
The city they'll only talk with the person that's on title as far as subdividing it or zoning changes.
Even with a letter, like a permission letter of approval?
Yes, even with the permission letter of approval, the city will not, like, they may give you a thumbs up, but it's nothing in writing. It's nothing. It would be more of a verbal, okay, we would probably be okay with that, but it wouldn't be a yes, that can be done, and you can change the zoning. It's not something that you can make 100% guarantee until you're on title of that property.
Okay. So we could still make a condition to that, but they would still manage that whole process.
So what I would do is, instead of making it a condition, I would make it a term of the contract.
A term.
So the difference between the two is a condition needs to be removed, whereas a term stays there till the end of the contract is satisfied. So the contract can't be satisfied until the terms are satisfied. And so there's no date put on it as to, now you can put a date in the term, it needs to be done by X amount of, let's say it needs to be done by September of 2023. And if it's not done by then this contract is rescinded, or you can do those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But
a timeline to it, right?
Yeah. Put a timeline to it, but I would keep it as a term versus a condition.
That's good. That's awesome. You know, so it's about agreeing on a price today and then moving forward with these terms to get this subdivided and get that all approved. And then that's one item that we can look at, you know, checking off the list, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's just a timeline that you want to get in order there. So first of all, let's agree on a price. Let's agree on, you know, in your conditional period, you can do your soil samples, you can do whatever else you may want to do to make sure that you can build houses there, your environmental, that sort of thing. That's in your condition period. So those are the things you're going to do during the condition period. But as a term of the contract, they are going to start the subdivision process. So they're going to have to get it surveyed, decide where the property lines are going to be, all that stuff, put in the application, wait for the city to say yay or nay. And then the zoning, I'm a little unclear on, but that would probably that would have to come after the subdivision. To have it rezoned, you would need title, right? So that would need to be subdivided to a separate title and then the rezoning process. Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm just not sure if I need, and I'll dig into that more. I'm careful about how much time I spend before we, you know, have an accepted price. But you know, I might not have to rezone it. You know, I can build what I'm thinking I want to build under that same zone. So that's something we'll cross.
And so the other thing I just wanted to mention, if you are going the seller financing route, is the way that I would set it up or try to sell it to them on the 3 offer sheet. You know, maybe you change it to a 2 offer sheet instead, and you say, here, we're going to buy it outright for 700, or seller financing, you'll end up getting 900. You'll get X amount now in a deposit, and you'll get X amount, you know, with the principal, and then this is the amount that you're going to get in interest. But what I wanted to clarify with you is your deposit, your mortgage amount, and the interest you're going to pay over the next 3 to 5 years, what I don't know how long you want seller financing for, but let's say 3 years.
I have 39 months for the project timeline. I have 39 months. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So over 39 months at X percentage interest rate, when you add up your deposit, your mortgage amount, and the interest that you're going to pay over that 39 months, that all 3 end up totaling around that 850, 900,000.
Okay. Should I sweeten that up a bit? And like, I mean, I feel like I have room to play. I don't want to, you know, give away, but I mean,
that's your call. If you feel like, you know, if let's say you get the number just over $1 million, and that's just going to be so sweet for them, then and they'll accept it, and the numbers still work for you, great. And then, you know, because you want them to choose that option, you might lower your cash only option down to 685 or something like that. And so then there's a big enough spread where it's going to kind of for them be a no-brainer to take option B.
Yeah, that's really good. The other piece with buying it outright, it's raw land. So as far as financing goes on that, I mean, I don't know. I could see a minimum of 50% loan to value up to, you know, 100% of cash, right? Yeah. Because it's raw land.
Yeah, you're likely going to have to raise that privately. But if you have enough equity kind of built into that, where, you know, let's say you're getting it for cheap enough that it's kind of a no-brainer, then, you know, that's where you have to weigh those options. Maybe you don't even come up with a cash only offer unless it's really low, like throw in 550 or 600 or something like really low.
Yeah.
that's like a no-brainer versus that's kind of up to you and what you feel comfortable with.
Even within the seller financing option, like you could tweak and play with the numbers so much, right? Like low purchase price, higher interest, higher purchase, lower interest, right? Like that's where there's so many different scenarios with this, even like on every angle. It's like, what do you build, right? Like what I have planned and what I have analyzed is 3 buildings, like 3 5-unit buildings, 5 units up, 5 unit basement suites in each building. So 10, 10, 10 for 30 total. So and now they want this whole accessibility thing with the design to allow, some transitioning, we'll say, not quite seniors or assisted living, but they want some accessible design with no stairs in the front type thing where you can, and then it's kind of defeats the purpose of having a 2-story townhome, because you have a ground level entry, then stairs going up to the bedrooms up top. It's that, or do you go higher density with it, with elevators? Or
why do you think they want the accessibility? Why is that important to them?
They have been very clear and voiced that they want some kind of a socially responsible project. When I heard that, I went down the road of the CMHC MLI Select with the 3 categories of affordability, accessibility, and climate control, like our climate compatibility, with energy efficiency. So accessibility seems to be a big deal for them because of who they are, and that they're going to be the neighbor, and they're still going to have like this land or be the neighbor to this land. So they want the accessibility component to attract that type of a tenant demographic. Like they're on that US urban services zoning. Supportive housing is one of the permitted, right under that bylaw or that zoning, supportive housing. And that's what they're really seem to be focused on, is that
which is different from accessibility necessary. Like you can make a house accessible, but that wouldn't be considered supportive housing, because supportive housing could be more, medical support or, elderly, care for seniors or something like that, right?
This is where I'm cautioning. Like, I don't, that would require a third party, like medical operator. Like I'm not getting into that business, right? I want to steer clear of that whole medical situation and try to make, I'm baselining it with our townhomes with suites. That's what all my numbers are based off. I have it analyzed how it would perform, after the fact, based on, past data and experience.
And so if I were you, I'd be sticking to your guns as to what you want to do. I mean, you're coming in as a developer. You're the one that's going to take a large majority of the risk here. You want to be able to build what you want to build without them putting too much emphasis on something that is going to cost you way more. Let's say to make it accessible, it costs you an extra couple $100,000 and you're not going to get a return for that. So
exactly,
it could take a lot of profit out the window. So maybe you can make some adjustments and putting solar panels on or doing something along those lines. I don't know. I would kind of make it clear with them go into that meeting saying, this is the angle that I want to take, because this is something that I know I can do. This is something I've done before. This is something I know I can make money at, which would be good for me, good for you. And that's why I'm doing this. So I would kind of, and if there's some way that you can accommodate what they're wanting, great. But if it's going to hurt you financially to do that or make it way more complicated, then I would stay clear of that.
Okay. No, that's awesome. I appreciate it. I mean, I more or less kind of want to just, brainstorm, see other angles, blind spots, different. There's a lot of scenarios to look at. I mean, the conditions or terms for my offer is a big one that I kind of want to cover, because that's this Friday, essentially. I mean, it's going to be sitting down, it's going to be presenting. And then we're going to take it away and absorb the information. We're not going to negotiate at that table. We're going to present with the options, and then we'll rendezvous again for another meeting and go from there. But I think awesome. Okay, so that's good. Lean towards my vision, I guess, and
I would. I mean, if they have a million things that they're wanting done, then it's not like, and because this sounds like it's a private deal anyways, it's not like there's competition for you beating down the doors right now. So
No.
You do have you have the time and you have the leeway to be able to kind of say, here's what works for me. I hope it works for you. And maybe we can get something to work here, and let's work together to do this. But there's certain things that you kind of probably should stick a little bit firm on. One, that you want to be able to make money on this project. That's why you're doing it. Do you plan to build and sell, or were you planning to build and hold long term?
Build and hold.
Okay.
Yeah. Build and hold. Yeah.
Perfect.
So essentially it's a burr. I mean, all these developments are burrs: build and refinance out. And then on the refi is when they would get paid for their land purchase price, right? That we agree on today.
Yeah.
And then I would have it outright, but I would need a partner because the numbers show that there's going to be 1.2 million left in that deal.
Okay. Yeah.
At the end, based on refinancing at 75% loan to value.
Okay.
That can change when you go 75 to 85 to 95%. And that's where you got to play with a lot of financing. And, but as a baseline with a conventional mortgage, it looks like a good deal. I mean, we can add some value. We can,
So one other question I have, something to think about is, so when it comes to, this is a piece of raw land, like, are there sidewalks? Is there any infrastructure in place? Are the utilities at the property line, or are you running a lot of those? Are you building the roads and the sidewalks and the streetlights and all of that sort of stuff as well?
Yeah, I'm going to be building all that.
You obviously then counted that in as part of your costs then.
I do. Yeah. I have roads, curbs, sidewalks. Yeah. So I have my whole project cost all detailed out,
Okay.
And I have a project summary, what it looks like at the end when it's operating as well.
Okay, good. Well, I just wanted to make sure that was taken in consideration. Not that I didn't think you did, but do you have any more questions about your getting ready for your meeting on Friday? Or
so maybe I'll run some more conditions by that I think would potentially be conditions. So this is my construction budget of all my construction costs, and I made some notes down here of potential conditions. So Can you see that?
Yeah, you bet.
So the subdivision approval, we covered that one. I always put buyer's partner approval in the offers. Passes phase 1 environmental, City of Edmonton rezoning approval, if that's applicable. And then I got one of something around the wording of the City of Edmonton infrastructure, like not to be upgraded. I don't know how to word that, but I'll think about it. But I don't have a budget to upgrade existing infrastructure. That in Edmonton currently right now is on the developer for cost. They're working on a cost sharing program, but if any water, any sewer, any electrical needs upgrading from the city to bring into our land, that's got to be a condition from me, because right now I don't know that.
And that is something that you can hopefully figure out during your conditional period.
Yeah, I'll have to get into this with engineers, and I'll have to risk some money digging around and doing due diligence. Like when we have an accepted offer, that's just the nature of development. You have to be fairly certain at this point that you're going forward with diligence, and if something comes up, there's no way to recover that money. So.
Absolutely. And as long as you know that going in and you're comfortable with that, then it is what it is. And so that, just for that reason alone there, you want to remember for this meeting on Friday, just kind of be sticking to your guns, that you need to for it to work for you, it needs to work for you. As much as we want to accommodate the seller in this instance, for you to make money on this project, because you're putting all the risk in. I mean, they have the land, they're sitting there, they're not paying anything. It doesn't matter if you did it now or in 5 years, they're not losing or winning anything, so whereas you're taking all the risk here.
So focus on the outright sale and the seller financing, and stay away from that partnership one entirely, or throw it in as a...
I'm getting the feeling that if you don't want it, I would stay away from it. And it depends on what the percentages would be. If they're putting in the land and you're doing all the work, and you're also going to have to raise the funds to, with a partner, et cetera, to do the building and all of that, depending on what their percentage would be, if they're at 10% of any gains, then great. The land cost plus a portion, you could do something like that.
Yeah. because we'd still be short. Like in order to roll into a conventional construction loan, a construction draw mortgage financing, you need 25% equity, 25% loan to construction cost. That number of the full total project cost, that number is like 1.8 million, right? So we would need to get to 1.8 million in clear equity before we can roll into a construction loan to build out the whole project.
Okay.
So at a purchase price, if they're coming in a partner as a partnership with a purchase price of 850, we're still short like $1 million to get to that threshold, right? So that's where I would have to raise that capital.
Yeah.
And they're getting a partnership with doing nothing. Right?
Do you have any feeling like they might be able to come up with some of that money?
Haven't gone down that road yet. It's worth asking. Like, I mean, if they want to explore this option, I would definitely dig deeper on what they can contribute.
Yeah. I think that would kind of be the determining factor. If they are willing to put some money into it to cover the build costs or whatever, to cover that spread, then absolutely take them on as a partner. If they're not and they're just covering the land, then I would personally go towards the VTB or whatever, seller financing.
Yeah. Okay. Question on that. I think we kind of touched on it in the Tactical Tuesday. So for interest rate, I mean, like, again, we can play with those numbers on purchase price. And what do you think I should aim at, like, for a proposal? Because I'm going to have to calculate all this out and present to them what it looks like for them.
Again, I would, to be honest, it kind of, and that's why I said all of those numbers are all included in the final total of, let's say, 900,000. So you could do a $600,000 loan at 20% interest, and you know, over 39 months that comes to 900,000. Or you could do an $850,000 loan at 3% interest, and it comes to 900,000. So I would put the interest somewhere in the 7 to 9% range, just so that it's not super high, so that if you do take longer than the 39 months, then that does get tacked on to the top of that, and you're not paying too much. So there's a bit of a we want to show them a good interest rate, but at the same time, I would be somewhere in the 7 to 9% range.
I'll just remember your words. What works for me? What fits that budget? Yeah. Okay. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you got some clarity for sure, and just kind of looking to get it all straight and clear. So
well, maybe next Tuesday you can give us an update as to how the meeting went.
We'll have some progress, that's for sure.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. Thanks a lot. Awesome. I appreciate it. Okay.
You betcha.
Take care.